Please welcome Laura Kane.
Well, how do you see that, Laura, straight off the top? Just an automatic finals berth for the Blues.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it.
But come on, Laura, since you've taken over, the Blues have come good, really. And are we getting record attendances for the league every single round now?
Pretty much. 3 rounds of 400,000 or more people. We've only ever had it happen once ever before this year, and we've had 3 rounds already with that number.
It's crazy because people talk about cost of living and everyone is, the belts are being tightened, but everyone's going to the footy, aren't they?
They're finding room for it. And I mean, it's not lost on us. That's why we try and keep pies cheap and water cheap and tickets the same price.
You know what,
Important.
my brother is the tightest man in Australia. It makes me wee outside when I go to his house because I don't want to waste the water. We went to the Marvel Stadium on Sunday night and he was raving about how cheap the hot dogs were. He was shocked.
You should go to Amazon, just walk out. Have you been there at Marvel?
No.
Scan your credit card, take whatever you want, and AI will charge you for
Really?
whatever you walk out with.
That's
So
serious.
we even tested it, tried to put
Bloody
things in
hell.
our pockets. They got us.
That's like when you buy stuff at Uniqlo. You
It's
just
the same.
You dump
Same
it all
technology.
in the bin and it just goes,
Yeah,
It's great.
walk out. You don't even have to scan anything. It just does it all for
Level
you.
1, have a go next time you're at Marvel.
I like that. Well, you must be pumped, and the television viewing numbers are ridiculous, so the game in that sense is in really good shape.
It is. People are so excited about footy. They're excited across the country, but the quality is terrific.
Yeah.
We're seeing such good games of football, such good ball movement, and so competitive to look at the ladder today and see the 2 teams that made it 2 years ago back up there, the 2 teams that made it last year, not even in the 8. It's so exciting.
It is, and Carlton at 5-3 to be 8th is disappointing. You'd think that 5-3 would get you better than 8th, wouldn't you? But anyway, let's not worry
It's
about
early. There's lots of footy still to be played.
that. Can we go back to your origins of you? You started at North Melbourne in footy. This man, JB, was your president for a year. What sort of was he like? Kim Jong-un, or what sort of president was he?
He wore shorts.
He wore shorts.
Pretty casual.
I used to wear shorts a lot.
But he
I
cared.
used to go and get my gym session in before the meetings. So then I'd walk in with shorts. Well,
On the Alta G.
Was there any board
Gravity
meeting ever
free.
saying that the president shouldn't
No,
wear shorts? Or
he
not?
was. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. He was terrific. He cares about that football club more than most. And I loved the first year at North. I loved every year at North, actually, but it was great to work with JB.
No, you're a star, and it was a sad day for me when I heard you were leaving, even though I knew it was inevitable, given your skill set, you were going to grow and go into this amazing. But even this role, you must pinch yourself a bit because you're now the head of footy for the whole competition.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly not what I planned. Sometimes when I'm in the supermarket and someone says, "Can you sort out the umpiring?" I look past me to see who they're talking to,
Yeah.
and then realise it's me. But it's a privilege, and it sounds cliche, but it is. I grew up playing footy. I played Auskick. I played junior footy. My whole family love it. I love it, and now I get to talk about footy and watch footy every single day for a living. So I am very grateful for that.
And you are very impressive. And when you do step in, some of the tribunal situations you've stepped into, I've been on your side. So, but it's also brave for you to step into some of those areas. Yeah, it's like can I talk about Maynard last year, where you said
there's an example of it. Yep.
let's take this to the tribunal, or to where you took it to. So, you don't hold back, do you? If you see something you think's wrong, you'll go for it.
Absolutely. And I think you have to be that way inclined to have a job like this. You have to be that way inclined to work in our industry. People care, and when people care, they have an opinion. But I need to be here for the decisions that I make, and that was one that I was strong on, so I made it.
Yeah.
Tell me about mixing with alpha males, because when you walked into North, Brad Scott was the senior coach, and very, very strong. We both love him, but very, very strong, individual, and can be intimidating, as all the senior coaches can be. How do you go with that?
I mean, I talk to senior coaches every day. I quite enjoy it. I enjoy their intelligence and their passion for the game, and I think that was probably seen in return in terms of what I knew about footy. So I was able to connect with Brad, for instance, on a football level. I think what's wonderful about men's footy and now women's footy is the friendships and the mateship and the relationships that are sometimes really long-standing that make football clubs some of the greatest places on earth. And now to have that across men's and women's football, to see men and women in men's and women's football departments and everything in between, it's amazing.
And as a pioneer of the women's game, a player yourself and then a very young president of the club, the Uni Women's Footy Club, you must be blown away by the state of women's football, how quickly it's got this good.
Absolutely. It is. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to our game. I played junior boys footy and I had a couple of years where there were no competitions for girls, and that's only in my lifetime. So to now see 18 teams in the national comp playing, about 100 games of football for a season year in, year out, and having, 5,000-10,000 people pack out these small heartland venues is remarkable. I just love it.
It's only going to get stronger because I've got daughters who, they don't play. They play basketball. None of my children play AFL. It's not.
We'll talk about that later.
I know that, but all their girlfriends play. So is the participation amongst girls almost up to what boys are? Is it that wouldn't be that far off, would it?
It's certainly boomed, and I think you would be hard pressed to find a football club now that doesn't have boys and girls Auskick, boys and girls junior teams. Both mums, dads, coaching, and then senior teams are exactly the same, and committees are reflecting the community now, and it's happening everywhere. So participation's booming.
In 10, 15 years, one of these kids are now in 18, 20. It's going to, the women's leagues are going to be so much better, aren't they? Well, they're already good, but
growing up with the
Absolutely.
game. Let's stick around. Laura Kane is our special guest. I've got some things I'm going to run by her. Nothing hard, but just some. I'm going to pick your thoughts on a few
More
things.
with Laura Kane next on the Rush Hour. Triple M. Triple M's Rush Hour. AFL Executive General Manager Laura Kane has stuck around, JB.
All right, just some stuff to run by the boss of footy. Online abuse. I know the Eagles are now dealing, with some specific cases over there, and we've seen some of the Indigenous players have to deal with it. But it's not as simple as saying to AFL players you've got to get off social media because they won't. So how do you police that as a code?
No, and I think that's a really important point. We know young people live and connect with their family and friends through social media. The difficult side when you're in a public high-performance industry is the feedback. And it's not about getting used to it. It's about trying to work out how we stop people, feeling compelled to give their thoughts, and sometimes quite brutally. So we're working with the e-safety commissioner. We're working with the government broadly around how can we bring attention to this? How can we educate people? And how can we help our players not have to deal with this at all?
Yep.
For some people, it seems to be a full-time job, just abusing people online, and people in like me or JB in the public space. They must spend so much time on the computer or their phones.
Yeah, but the difference with us, Huey, is we've been around a long time. These are kids.
Yeah,
These are 20-year-old kids, and so it's an issue. What about concussion? We've just seen Libba now. A number of concussions have seen him out of the game. How close are we to knowing more about how many is too many?
Player health and safety is our priority. It always has been. We've changed more than 30 rules at the same time the game has gotten better. So I'll often get feedback around the fabric of the game or the quality of the game. But I think the football's the best it's ever been right now, and we've made all of those changes, including a number of changes over the summer. We are deep into research, and that is where it all starts, medical research. Our brain health initiative is an extraordinary project, but we need time. We need time to make sure that we're gathering all the right information and we're doing and changing things as we learn more, and that's what we're doing, and we've been committed to doing for the many years.
Why is there unease with the coaches around the sub rule? What's their issue with it?
I think they like flexibility. I think they like being able to play two talls and have them both on the bench and not impact their ruck rotation, to be honest. To have a tall at each end of the ground and a ruck and have the luxury of that flexibility, I think would be appealing to me if I was a senior coach. We've had that discussion for a couple of years now. We made the change last year to remove the medical sub or the medi-sub element and make it a tactical sub.
Yeah.
So I think the question now is go back to 4, go to 5, or keep the sub as is.
On the subject of coaches, you said you speak to them every day. Is there a couple of coaches in particular who ring you a lot, or do they all ring you? We don't have to name names.
There's a few that have saved me in their favourites.
All right. So do you ever see their name and just let it ring out, or?
No, not often. I always answer. Depends what's happened. Depends if I'm ready to talk to them.
A mid-season trade period, do you see that coming?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've got appetite for it. I like the concept. I think
Player for player, I like. I don't
Yeah, it
want,
has to
I don't want
work.
picks being traded mid-year because that can be knee-jerk. But if you've got a player on a list that you go, well, I want Laura Kane and Dave Hughes works for us, then would that work?
I mean, maybe, but I also think we have a unique situation of having 10 teams in one state and 2 in, 4 others. That's hard. That's an inequity that we would have to guard against. It's much easier to drive from Icon Park to
Arden Street.
Arden Street.
Yep.
Historically, not often, but let's just say
All right, to Punt Road.
a free agent wanted to. But that's much easier. You don't have to move house. You don't have to move schools for children. Partners don't have to change jobs. It's very difficult to move from Victoria to Queensland in the middle of a season. So that part, if we can guard against that, maybe, but we're working on it.
All right, final one for me, in-game, and I'm going to talk to Brad Scott about this tonight on Talking Footy. We saw in the prelim final last year that Jordan De Goey, in the dying stages of that game, was off the ground for nearly 9 minutes. And basically the whole game was being played on the Shane Warne stand side, and he couldn't get back on the ground. And I look at that and I go, that can't happen. Like, we've got to be able to get our best players when the game's on the line to be on the ground.
You're going time out.
Well, then I thought, how do we fix it? And then I thought, much smarter people than me need to work this out. So, Laura Kane, is it possible?
I've actually watched this before years ago in terms of how different teams rotate. And if you have a look at some of the clubs, I don't know if they still do it. I haven't watched it closely, I must admit. Some just go anyway.
Yep.
So some will go either end of the ground, push a wing in and work it all out once they're there. But even on the far side of the ground, they'll still press the rotation button regardless of positioning. So I think it's a decision you make. If you're happy to take
one down.
Happy to be one down for 20 seconds based on where the ball is, some teams still do it. Not many, but some.
Can I ask about the grand final? Obviously, the twilight games on Saturdays are working their asses off. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
They're really the ratings for twilight, that 4 o'clock start on a Saturday, and the crowd
Sunday
numbers
as well, yep.
and that's huge. How close to twilight grand final are we?
We get asked this question all the time.
I know, but it feels like it's getting closer.
Dill says he likes day grand finals, so I might not go against the grain and say whatever Andrew Dillon thinks.
There's still
back
someone
in.
Yeah, right, he's still
Well, I have been, Laura, to a Super Bowl. I don't know if you have, and they are always twilight. And so the halftime entertainment's right as the sun sets. And it is awesome. Like, it is phenomenal. So I was always day grand final too until I did that. And then I thought, you know what? This is actually nuts. Really, really cool. You're doing a great job. It's always great to see you. And
calm.
Oh, no, she's a star. That's why. Anytime you want to drop in and chat to us on the Rush Hour, Laura Kane, you are very welcome.
Thank you, guys.